Welcome back to episode 19 of Tone Bogans Season 1. Thank you so much for everyone who's watched every episode so far. I have created a playlist. If you've missed any, feel free to go back, especially for this episode where I will be extending on the rig rundown, which is what I had originally planned to do as part of that video. I always intended to have a second episode where I said, hey, this is how this pedal chain works, and then I kind of distracted myself making an entire season of Tone Bogans instead. So here it is now. I'm just going to give you a couple of tips and tricks into how I make this pedal chain work as well as it does. And you can go to the Lo-Fi Ambient playlist if you have not ever heard anything that I've created before, and listen to this exact pedal chain in action. I'm very excited to do this episode actually because I love giving away secrets. If people tell me secrets, I'll tell everyone. That's just how I roll. So I'm really happy to let you know how this chain works with an audio demo this time. And my two biggest tips are: have one very subtle reverb at the very start of your chain. I'm running compressor, I'm running an auto volume, and then I have a reverb. I don't dial it to 100% wet. I keep it quite subtle, and what it does is it sort of expands my notes, it fattens them, and it gives them a little bit of body, volume and texture, kind of like my hair. It makes that note a lot fatter than it was going in, and that way it does two things simultaneously with the delay unit that's next in the chain. It simultaneously makes the delay bigger and smaller, if that makes sense. Doesn't? Okay, let me explain. So instead of a hard attack and one note going through, hard attack and heart attack sound very similar. Let me just point that out right now. So instead of a hard note attack going through and the delay very cleanly slicing that and repeating it, you've got this smeared and blended note coming through. So it is effectively bringing down the instance of attack, and it is making that longer note sound longer again by repeating it. So give it a go, hear me out, give it a go. Reverb before delay, and then go delay before reverb, and see which one you like the best. We'll go and stay with reverb for a little bit longer. At the end of my chain, I have this Eno reverb, and I've already explained in the Lo-Fi rig rundown that I use the well setting. I just like how that algorithm is set up a little bit better than the other two. And this one I put on usually almost 100% wet, sometimes 100% wet, sometimes I dial it back a little bit depending on the sound that I want. If I use a looper, and it's not very often that I use a looper with this chain, but if I do, I have yet another reverb afterwards that acts like a master. So in Logic or whatever DAW you use, sometimes it's really good to put a subtle reverb effect on your group bus. Usually not the master bus, it's a little bit too overpowering, but on a selected group bus of whatever you want to affect, you can do that just to smooth everything a little bit further, and that is how I sometimes use a third reverb. It sounds like reverb overkill, but trust me, it's not. I'm using the Artist Space reverb for this one. It's one of 4 of this series of pedals that I've got, and I haven't actually introduced it in any other Tone Bogans episodes, although I have used it in some of the Lo-Fi ambient tracks that I've already posted. So have a listen and see if you can tell the difference between the Eno reverb and the Artist Space reverb. I think the Space Reverb is a little bit airier and lighter, and the Eno one's a lot darker sounding. They're the two main differences to my ear anyway. Second tip I have for you is to run 2 delays, which in this rig I am doing. One has a longer delay, it's maxed out as far as it can go. It is running at 96.6 beats per minute, which is really important to know. And then the other one is running at half of that time. And I'm not sure if it's exact because I'm dialing these in by hand. It's really easy, obviously, to dial it back as far as it will go and have the longest repeat. But dialing in that one that is half the length of the long one took a long time to get as close as possible. There is still a little bit of a variation, which is quite nice. It doesn't give you the same effect as it will give you in Logic, for example, which is good because sometimes you don't want things to be 100% perfect, and eventually the loop catches back up with itself as well. So it's kind of like a really subtle frippatronic effect, having that second delay just that slight little bit out of sync. I have a little sub tip for you. Get a paint pen and put a little dot on your pedal if you have the same kind of delays that I'm running without a tap tempo. That way you will not lose your settings as easily. The paint pen will eventually wear off. It won't damage your pedal case at all. It doesn't damage the paint. It literally just sits on top of it until you wipe it off. That way, if you need to change the delay time on that second pedal, you're not stuffing around for ages trying to find it. You can literally just dial it back to where it is quite close to being a half time or a double time delay actually, because the delay time is half of the first one, but it's double the speed, which, yeah, mind blown. much my two major tips that I was going to do with the Lo-Fi rig rundown. Obviously, I'm also using this volume auto swell. I use it extensively. I probably use it a little bit too much at the moment. I'm getting a little bit bored of it, but I also really, really like that pad synthy guitar swell sound as well. So I'm like stuck in the middle of this. I like the sound, but I'm sick of using it sort of conundrum here. Chorus and tremolo and phaser. I feel like I need to use at least phaser a lot more. Tremolo, as per that episode on Tone Bogans, I don't use it that much. I just find it a little bit too percussive for ambient, but I love it for soundtrack. So maybe I guess a solution there would be make more soundtrack tracks. Yeah, I might do that. Good advice, Sarah. Good advice. Thanks. Thank you so much, and I will catch you next episode.